Because I'm a 3D fighting game player. And I'm a 3D fighting game player who has traditionally liked every 3D fighter that exists, or that has existed in the past, 25 years, significantly more than Tekken. Tekken feels like a 2D fighting game slapped onto a 3D plane with very stiff and cumbersome movement mechanics to go along with it. Really heavy tracking, ambiguous tracking, no clear rules for sidestepping, sidestep and backdash cancels to freely move around the screen. And I mean, that makes you very, it makes for very open-ended and expressive movement, which is cool to some people, but no real punishment for moving. And it feels, like I said, closer to a 2D fighter. I bet you the vast majority of Tekken players have never attempted to sidestep a button in their life. They just play on a 2D plane and only ever really sidestep as a positioning tool to get away from the wall. And most of the other 3D fighting games don't feel that way. And the reason why is because most of the 3D fighting games have some form of movement that feels more intuitive, more natural, and the systems in which you are attempting to evade things using the 3D plane makes more sense. So there was a clip that started going around that I got asked to watch on mute. I'm gonna look at speed clip. I'll watch the clip 3 times or 2 times. 3 times actually. I guess one time with sound on, one time with sound off. This is a clip. Someone said the people yearn for real Tekken, right? Showing, like, retweeting an r/slash tweet talking about how he doesn't feel as if the game feels very good. And I kind of want to look at this from a 3D fighting game player's perspective of interaction on a 3D plane. How much interaction are we going to see between this clip and the other clip? We'll first watch it with the commentary, because I think the Tekken commentators always do a great job. So credit where credit is due. Tekken is hype, in my opinion, almost exclusively because of the commentators. And I'll prove that after we watch this clip.
Low on time.
Oh, not breaking the code. Still alive, gonna have a chance.
Made a pizza out of him.
What's
he gonna do? There's no time left. Oh, good block. There's no time left.
Oh my God!
The crowd is also very excited, right?
Steve,
I think that's one thing we can say, is the crowd is extremely excited.
Sweatsuit, I almost punched him. I don't even know who he was, but I almost hit him just out of excitement. I apologize. You scared me. That scared me.
Steve swings on people, grabs people's arms.
All right, I'll kind of keep my arm on you, make sure you don't hit anyone, Steve. But man, that last round,
but that was sick, though, right? That was godlike, right?
No words.
Okay, we're in agreement. He was about to punch me. I was about to punch him. It's okay.
It's cool.
It was okay.
Cool, we both agree.
Yeah.
Oh, gets him with the low again. And he with a slight life advantage here.
Oh, wow. Kenpo again. Get off of me,
Slight life advantage? Okay.
If this is what it's like to see gods go at it, I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to do this anymore. Just think, we haven't even had slow-mo.
Put cameraman on the mic. I don't want to do it anymore.
They said that, and they were being hype. But when they said that, in my head, I thought of it as, this is so boring that if this is how the gods play, I don't want to do this anymore. That's what I thought, because if you ask me, without the commentary, this clip is extremely boring. This clip is a whole lot of non-interactivity, moving as far away from range 1, range 0, where most pokes are going to land in a 3D fighting game, almost exclusively doing double and triple backdashes, to ranges where you're almost not even going to be able to attempt a whiff punish, to create a space where your opponent tries to use one of their counter hit launchers and you can whip punish it. And not only that, these backdashes also fish for low blocks, and more than likely these players are fishing for low parries, because low parries and counter hit launchers was the name of the game in Tekken 7. That's just the truth, right? This is early Tekken 7 where that wasn't so prevalent. It wasn't really the case. A lot of people hadn't fully studied the game and understood how strong the counter hit tools and the safe counter hit launchers were, and things like low parry into full wall conversion, right? So it was still a 2-touch game, but it was a 2-touch game with more movement as interaction. And I don't think movement, counts as real interaction. Especially not in a game with safe movement, right? If you look at a game like Soul Calibur that has unsafe movement, Virtua Fighter that has unsafe movement because it's committal, yes, you can consider movement interaction. But in a game like Tekken where movement is inherently safe, it's not really interaction. So let's count the number of times we see interactions here. And then we'll look at an old Tekken clip and see how much more interaction happens in the same time, if not faster. No sound, by the way, because the commentators are what's making it fun. If I'm honest. Look at... I don't know, there was maybe 6 interactions that round from where we saw, right? They start off with the triple backdash, going for the small pokes. Once again, more backdashes, attempting to catch some sort of a dash in there with that forward 3 or whatever that was. Catches the one, I think it was one of Dragunov's lows with a 1-2, and then punishes a power crush with a 1-2, right? But small interactions, lots of small interactions. But mostly, if you look here, playing on the 2D plane. The only sidesteps I've seen are repositioning sidesteps in range 4, range 5 after 2 or 3 backdashes. They are sidestepping, not to use sidestepping as a means of interaction and playing around the opponent's small but linear pokes. They're instead using movement as a way to reposition to get away from the wall or keep your opponent realigned at the wall. If that's the only way the 3D space is used in Tekken 7, I think the 3D space in Tekken 7 is bad. If we look at a game like Tekken 8, people use sidestepping for significantly more because sidesteps are, I don't care how bad you are at Tekken 8, they are stronger than Tekken 7. The consistency of the sidesteps is better. You have to know the rules of how they're going to work, but they're better. But I don't know if they're better enough for the backdash nerfs that happened, but they're better. let's just leave it at that. I have some choice words about how bad they did the backdashes in Tekken 8. Right? Not a lot of interaction. Especially when you think of on a 3D plane. Like, they're mostly playing on a 2D plane. Look at this. These small positioning sidesteps. Not to call out pokes, because as you see here, he's not pressing anything. He does those 2 sidesteps just to reposition knee closer to the wall. He's not doing it so knee has less space to backdash. He's not doing it to beat linear pokes, which is what most 3D fighters people sidestep for. He's doing it only for the purposes of one of the 2 reasons why you sidestep in a 3D fighting game. Does it again there. You can say the same thing about knee, right? Just these small positioning sidesteps. The sidesteps are for positioning only. They're not for reads to beat a poke. And wins via timeout. Cool, right? So that's real Tekken. That's the real Tekken people yearn for. And the reason why Speed Kid says watch this clip on mute is because you can go back and watch this clip on mute. We'll watch both. We'll watch it on mute, not on mute. The commentators are going to be really loud. I'm just going to let you guys know. They're like, I think this is louder than the other clip. But this is JDCR versus, I believe, Knee as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know it's JDCR. Yeah.
왜 제가 아우라고 그랬냐면 정말로 그 정도의 상황이 연출이 됐었던 거고요. 실수가 많습니다. 실수가 많다는 건 신경을 많이 쓴다는 거예요.
Significantly more buttons happening. This seems more proactive. There's more proactive offense happening, less reactive. To the point where it almost feels like it's not even the same game. That's weird. Look at him. He did 3 pokes and then started to backdash. And didn't backdash from Julius far.
네. 자, 하단. 또 한 번 더.
Nice.
자, 중단. 이거는 배재민이 노렸고 김현지 잘
actively ducking, trying to beat highs and throws. Actively using movement and using the stances of Tekken high, low, and mid to create interactions on the screen.
한 번 더. 자, 한번 바꿔주고요. 김현재 근데 지금 긴장하기 좀.
That sidestep was to bait something and then you wave dash to realign.
뭐가 긴장했냐면 김현재는 원래 태클쇼 바꾸는 선수가 아니거든요. 그런데 바꿨어요.
Nice, once again, ducking.
에너지를 손해를 감안하면서 간다.
No, that was sick.
하나, 둘.
That was sick, Nasty. He's alive, but that was tight.
자, 끝난 건 아니고요.
Hard call out there.
끝난 건
Look at all the pokes happening.
하단 한 방.
I think he's dead.
세트 가요. 몰라요.
This is so loud.
남코신만 알죠 이런 건? 야단.
And because of how much less powerful low parry was in the previous versions of Tekken, you can see they're using significantly more lows and low pokes. Because, I mean, they are good pokes at the end of the day. It's just that Tekken 7 was so strong when it came to low parry. Tekken 8 does not have low parries of similar strength, not even close to similar strength of Tekken 8. But look how many more low pokes you're seeing. You're seeing the fast low pokes into the wall standing fours or into the down ones to attempt to force some sort of interaction from the opponent so they know it's their turn, right? Normally when you get hit with the low poke, lows are not inherently plus in Tekken. In most 3D fighters, actually, most of the smaller lows are not plus. So you lose your turn for using a low poke, right? Unless you use one of the bigger ones like that Marduk low there, a lot of the low pokes are minus. So they inherently lead to a mix-up, a guessing game situation that doesn't feel inherently unfair like some of the guessing game situations in Tekken 8. And you're also doing it to yourself, right? You're putting yourself in a reverse miss situation, which is way less obnoxious than the situations that exist in Tekken 8, but they're still interacting. Even in Tekken 8. Something I'll say is if I could find like a Tekken 8 tournament clip that people are going to bitch about. He's showing more old clips. I think this is a non-tag game. Okay, this is a non-tag game. That's good. You show the non-tag game here, which is, I think this is Tekken 6. So non-tag game. We'll watch it with commentary.
JDCR이 역으로 역울킬할 수 있는 그런 기량이 있는 선수예요.
상황 너무나 많이 만들어내는 선수이기도 합니다. 변현수.
And mind you, this is Brian Fury, who's supposed to be a defensive character, playing still offensively, but instead of just backdashing a bunch, he's playing as if he's a brick wall, using small pokes to keep out. See, a button all the way from back here, and this isn't a button to pretend it's a projectile so the opponent will jump. We don't have those in 3D Fighter. We usually don't have projectiles in 3D fighters. Let me correct myself. This is a button to potentially call out a wave dash timing. That's what this is for. That's to potentially call out a backdash into double wave dash timing. That's all that was.
자, 역시나 긁어 먹으면 짠존 짠발. 저거 때리면 그 다음 게 열리니까.
You look at this, the real lines on the side steps, going for the small side steps, going for run up or wave dash up side step to beat someone defensively poking so they don't have to deal with the mix of crouch dash offense. Things you don't see in Tekken 7 because the side steps were so bad that sometimes you would get hit. You would go for a crouch dash into your opponent's face and then sidestep, and their poke would retract to you, or it would just track you. Because the sidestepping in Tekken 7 was so bad that it almost felt as if the only things you could do were backdash. Backdash or hold the pressure. Older Tekkens were not that bad when it came to the 3D space. I think Tekken 7 did one bad thing for us all, and that was made people think that real Tekken was backdashing a bunch. Real Tekken was non-interaction. Real Tekken was counter hit launchers and low parries. That's not real Tekken. Motherfucker, that was whack. If you look at old Tekken, this doesn't look like 7. Look at them vying for space on the screen, chasing each other down instead of doing this number. Instead of getting further from each other, even as a defensive character, the Brian player is moving towards JDCR. He's not backdashing 4 or 5 times, he's backdashing 2 times, coming back in as some sort of an offensive mix-up situation.
원잼만 뻗을 뿐 원잼 때리고 다시 한번 거리 벌리고
네.
잡히면 당연히 이제 풀어야 되는 그런 시간대.
당연히 풀어야 되는 거죠 이제는.
자 계속 움직여 주다가 이렇게 들어갈 때
Like,
중요한
still
건데
using the
하다가
backdashes the way that they do in Tekken 7 to a degree, but not nearly as often, because of course he has a life lead. Why would JDCR choose to interact when he has a life lead? But I think in Tekken 7, the best thing to do a lot of times, unfortunately, especially at round start, is nothing. And that's not good for a competitive game. Because if the best thing to do is nothing, because there's either bucket we ball moves that are ridiculous nuke buttons, safe counter hit launchers that you can use to call out people's timings, which people think reading someone's timing is the only way you can open someone up in a 3D fighter, which you're an idiot if you think that. Play other 3D fighters other than Tekken and you'll see that there are meaningful ways on offense to call out people's movement that actually matter, and low parries. Those were like the 3 main ways you open people up in Tekken 7. Big bucket we ball options that existed on the later half of the cast and during the later seasons for the Season 1 characters that never got them until later in the game, or I should say arcade season characters that didn't get them until later in the game. Shout out to Jack, who had one in arcades. And backdashing. That was the vast majority of what you saw, and I don't believe that that's real Tekken. If you started with 7, you've been jaded into thinking that that's all there is about Tekken, and it's just not true. There is movement in the 3D space and movement in the 3D space, traditionally in older Tekken games, was actually impactful and powerful enough to be used as another mind game, mix-up, and option in the neutral game. Tekken 7, sidestepping was only a thought to reposition away from the wall and for very big, slow, linear moves. You could even use it against small pokes back in the day. You couldn't do that in 7, and it's kind of starting to feel as if a lot of characters, once optimized, can actually sidestep small pokes in 8. 8 took away a lot of the 2D space when it comes to interaction and added that in the third dimension instead, which is how it should feel as a 3D fighter, right? I don't think that Heat is inherently fair. I think that Heat is a little strong and could be toned down. I think that a lot of the guessing situations feel so bad because there's not a lot of options. A lot of times you just have to guess. But I think knowing that you just have to guess, but knowing that a guess that you could potentially take is sidestep, instead of attempting to backdash because you can't backdash out of stuff now, is not the worst thing in the world. We've been given a plethora of defensive options. We still have low parry, it's not as strong. You have Heat back. If you're guessing on a delayed timing, you have sidestep potentially, you have jab. All of these on various different timings because those things do matter in 3D fighters. Hey, how you doing, Killer Crayon? I don't think that Tekken 8 is in a good position, but I think that it's in a better position than year 1 of Tekken 7 was. An arcade version of Tekken 7 was. I think the further along we get, the less likely they are to continue making the same mistakes from 7. I think 7 was a course correction, if I'm honest. We'll watch the rest of this clip really fast so that I can talk about this after.
글쎄 아직은 모릅니다. 하지만 예 역시나 먼저 때렸을 때는 높은 승률 자랑했어요. 왜냐면 계속 신이
so many jabs and down forward one and buttons. Oh, I love seeing buttons. Oh no. Is that jet upper? Damn. Happened off a sidestep jet upper, huh? That was a sidestep jet upper. He sidestepped a poke here and then does the jet upper. Look. Sidestepped a down 4-1 into a jet upper. Tekken 7 could literally never. This is Tekken 6. This is the game right before that. I'm sorry if you don't count Tag 2 because Tag 2 is a 2v2 fighter. It's not a 1v1 fighter. You have double the health bar. So if the combos are long and drawn out and you take a lot of damage, if you can earn your way to getting your character out and getting your backup character in, you can regain some of that life and it doesn't feel like a 2-touch game. It can sometimes be a 3, 4, 5-touch game if you can transition out your characters fast enough and get rid of some of the life loss from set play or a whip punish. By whip punish, I mean like a launch whip punish. Now, I want to talk about how I feel about Tekken 7 versus Tekken 8. Tekken 7 was a course correction. Tag 2 had extremely powerful sidestepping. Like, sidestepping so powerful that it felt non-interactive to deal with sidestep. Sidestep was so fucking good that you could sidestep at like -8. That's not okay. It's not good, right? Being a sidestep at like -6, -8 and still block is a tad ridiculous, right? And to course correct that, to make that feel less powerful, they made sidesteps weaker in 7, kept backdashes around the same strength, maybe narrowly toning them down, and made pokes track sidestep better, right? Because pokes track sidestep better and they weaken sidestep. I believe they course corrected too much in one direction. And then as the players optimized the game for Tekken 7, I'm sure the devs realized, holy shit, all that's happening is backdashing and pokes. Hey, thanks. They don't want only the 2D plane of their game being shown. Okay, as much as everyone's like, dude, but look, they kept the Kuma super strong the whole game, and Geese, we can't talk about Eliza because she sucks. They kept the 2D character super strong. They must want 2D to be good. They don't want the 3D characters to only play in a 2D plane. You'd have to be smoking some good pack to think that. So, to course correct from 7, they said, you know what? We'll tone down backdash so people aren't just running away from each other and doing counter hit pokes and low parries. Let's nerf counter hit pokes that are full launch starters and nerf low parry, make them significantly weaker so that people have to interact more neutral to win the game. And let's make it so that when you're in a mix-up, you cannot backdash your way most of the time out of a mix-up. That's just how Tekken 8 works. Tekken 8, you're not backdashing your way out of the mix-up, you're guessing. But guessing is a form of interaction. And I like interaction. So if you ask me to choose between what the fuck I see on the screen in Tekken 7 versus what the fuck I see on the screen in Tekken 8, I'm going to choose Tekken 8. Because at least 2 people on the screen are interacting. Yes, it's a casino. Yes, it's a coin flip. Yes, let's go gambling. Sure. All the fucking memes you want. But that gamble is something that will never happen or would never happen in the early days and the most optimized days of Tekken 7. There was no reason to gamble in 7 because gambling for the offensive player, pardon me, said that wrong, not offensive. Like no one's offended, I hope, unless Tekken 7 players are offended listening to this. There's no offensive reward for being right in Tekken 7. There was less offensive reward. Being the defender was better because you had solid counter hit launchers and low parries and backdashes that would create whiffs out of fucking nowhere. At least before they started making big nuke fuck it we ball options. That's not interactive. That's not a 3D fighter. That's a 2D fighter with safe backdashes. I'm sorry. Tekken 8 is an overcorrection of that problem. Tekken 8 instead, they took the meat of what made Tekken 7 so fun for a lot of people and so boring for others to play and watch, because I personally think Tekken 7 was extremely boring. Sorry, hold that. They took that and they tried to strip out as much of that as they can in the later seasons of Tekken 7. You could see it. You could see that they were working on making the game more offensively focused and pushing towards more 50-50 offense that rewarded the aggressor. That rewarded the person that was pressing buttons. That's how the later stage of Tekken 7 became. So, because backdashing was still so good, people just didn't interact with those systems if they didn't have to. If they were not at the wall, if they didn't get hit by a fuck-a-wee ball option, or, blocked a fuck-a-wee ball option, most of the time, they would just continue to backdash their way out of those pressure sequences. They would not interact. Tekken 8, they wanted to remove the proponent of the game where you could choose to not interact by forcing you into the red zone, by forcing you into range 1, range 0 frequently, by nerfing backdashes, by making longer pokes, by creating situations where heat is an option that full sends you into your opponent's face. It's basic. It's drive rush runs per round, right? And if you're already in and you have heat activated, now you get chip damage, forcing an offensive pressure on your opponent that forces them to take action. They have to take action because if they don't, all of that chip white life, eventually, when they take a full real hit, they will lose most of that life. They have to press buttons. They have to attempt to get out by swinging, by creating a sidestep launch, or by using heat themselves to get out. They created an actual, real, interactive game. I think they course corrected too far, and that heat is definitely too strong, and backdashes could stand to be a little stronger. Okay, I'm not saying Tekken 8 is some perfect game, but I am saying that it's more interactive right now in its earliest stages than Tekken 7 ever was. The course correction can still be fixed. We're only 1 year into the game. It's looking kind of bleak for those who like traditional Tekken, or what they know to be traditional Tekken, without thinking about or playing older Tekkens at a high level or watching older Tekkens at a high level. You'll see that there was a lot more interactions happening from Tekken 6 previous than there was in Tekken 7. Heat, yes, very overtuned. It's a new mechanic. We had Soul Charge in Tekken in Soul Calibur 6. Yeah, extremely strong, super overtuned. A lot of characters got their Soul Charges nerfed. A lot of characters didn't. But it didn't overall ruin the full flow of what made Soul Calibur Soul Calibur. If the Bandai Namco, if the Tekken team can put in the same amount of work and effort that the Soul Calibur team could put in with their limited budget, I think that Tekken 8 could still be a really good game. I think it just needs some of that love put in and some of the maybe overcorrections toned back just a little bit. This was mostly a rant about people not understanding what interaction is, not understanding what real Tekken is, because if you look at the difference between these two clips here, between Tekken 7 and Tekken 6, it looks like there's two completely different games on the screen. So for people to say that Tekken 7 was not a massive departure from Tekken as well are blind. They're nostalgia. They have their nostalgia goggles strapped on super hard for the only Tekken game they probably really interacted with at a competitive level. If you go back and you look at previous Tekkens, even it's funny because all of these clips have JDCR, and you'll see JDCR is playing significantly more interaction heavy and aggressive in the previous 2 Tekken titles. Significantly more aggressive in the previous 2 Tekken. And the reason for that is because offense was actually rewarded. This one is really funny. I like the way he puts this. He says, even being as charitable as I possibly can to Tekken 7, here is the same 2 players on an infinite stage. This is, okay, so this is, I believe, Knee, right? Yeah, this is Knee and JDCR, I guess, on a single health bar game. Mind you, look at the dash in, sidestep, keep out, realign. That's exactly what I was mentioning during a lot of that, is they were doing dash in, sidestep. They were doing like keep out buttons like the Brian did, where he was trying to call out something like a double wave dash with the wall standing 4, and the wave dash is to realign, the sidesteps to realign, things you didn't see a lot in Tekken 7. And that doesn't make for a good 3D fighter. It makes for a 2D fighter. Like, cool. I'm glad Tekken 7 was a 2D fighter. TLDR, Tekken 8 might not hit for some people. Tekken 7 might hit. Tekken 8 might not hit for some people. Tekken 7 might hit for some people. But invoking real Tekken for a reenactment of High Fight's Footsies game is crazy. Yeah, this is Footsies. This is Foozies. And like, nickel and dime Foozies, right? When you think of like Footsies in a traditional sense, you think of like one hit, one kill. And what you're really seeing here is like nickel and diming akin to something like Super Smash Brothers. Right? That's something I think of is like Super Smash Brothers, where you're going in for like, nairs and you're spacing them so that they're safe. You're going in with a forward tilt at like max range and power shielding your opponent's potential punish, or what they thought would at least, take space back, right? That's what this looks like to me. I think there's a lot of parallels between well-spaced and well-played Super Smash Bros. Melee and Tekken 7. And I say that because I think of both of them as 2D fighters. Like, I think of this as a 2D, 3D game, and I think of Smash Melee as a 2D platform fighter. So both of them have fast, technical, safe, expressive movement with explosive offense, but most of the time will come down to small nickel and dime interactions that are created by a locked in and compact game plan so that neither player will take as many risks as possible. Few risks are taken and few interactions happen on the screen so that you can deny offense from your opponent. And as cool as that is to see the opening happen, right? When the opening happens, it feels so good because you're like, whoa, like in this super defensive, shelled up game, my opponent or the guy I'm rooting against finally got opened up. Fuck that Knee guy. He's really, he's playing like a bitch. Meanwhile, JDCR on the other side of the screen is doing the exact same thing, but found that perfect sidestep, launch, or found that perfect backdash hop kick that created the opening in their small turtle nickel and dime offense. The same way you see a Smash player do a run in, wave dash back to call out a spot dodge into wave dash in, up throw, full combo from Fox. Or into a wave dash in, like a wave dash in shine from Falco into a full combo. Or a nair into grab for however long you want to fucking chain grab a spacey when you're Marth. That's what Tekken 7 reminds me of. I think Tekken 7, moreover, is probably closer to something like Smash Ultimate if Smash Ultimate had good movement. Because there were so many safe launchers, so many safe combo starting nickel and dime tools where you could nickel and dime your opponent with them if they just hit them, and then if you caught their timing and punished them on something or made them get counter hit, instead they would be crumpled or launched. And that's how Smash Ultimate feels. I could be a little out of touch when it comes to Smash Ultimate. I'm sure characters like Palutena have been completely pushed out of the meta, and that's really the character I'm thinking of here is like Palutena, Pikachu, Diddy Kong, Cloud. Cloud is not pushed out of the meta. There's no fucking way, right? So Cloud's probably still pretty good. Diddy Kong's probably still okay. Those are the kind of characters I'm thinking of. I'm sure Sonic and Steve are rule breakers in completely different ways that make them more obnoxious. Game & Watch has a lot of these features, and Game & Watch is pretty good. So, yeah, I think that analogy stands pretty well. So, I don't want people to compare Tekken 8 to Tekken 7. I want people to compare Tekken 8 to all of the previous Tekken games, right? And the reason why is because Tekken 7 was also a massive departure from what made the 1v1 Tekken games the Tekken games. They course corrected too hard, and I believe that it was just in a good time for Tekken, but was detrimental to the fighting game series. it was in a good time for Tekken because Street Fighter V kind of sucked dick. So people were looking for something else to play, and this game popped off really hard, and I'm glad it did because it got more eyes on it. But I think the problem with it popping off in the iteration that it did is that a lot of newer generation Tekken players don't know what real Tekken looks like if they've only ever seen Tekken 7. They'll believe that this is what real Tekken was, and that Tekken 7 is true Tekken, and Tekken 8 is a huge departure from the franchise. The only thing I believe Tekken 8 has done wrong outside of monetization and shitty battle passes is making Heat too overtuned and the focal point of how frequent you get offense in the game. Just like a crutch mechanic that when you use it, it becomes over-centralizing to the point where it makes every character play similarly. Kind of the same way as backdash into, low parries and counter hit launcher, Magic Force. I think that if they tone that down, every character's unique tool sets outside of Heat will feel more unique and will still be that same close range 1, range 0, 3D movement game where you're using movement in close range to create whiffs and to play an interaction heavy game. That's all I want from Tekken 8. I am not a Tekken 8 apologist. I don't even play the game that much, but I'm hoping that it does well. Because if it does, that means maybe we'll see other 3D fighters come back eventually. The Virtua Fighters, the Soul Calibers, the Dead or Alives. Anyways, this was a really long rant and a really long discussion piece on Tekken as a whole and Tekken 8 mostly. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. Like the video or dislike the video if you hate all of my opinions and think I suck. I really just want to have a conversation. Leave your comments in the comment section down below about if you disagree with me, how and why. Share this video with a friend who likes Tekken 8 or doesn't like Tekken 8 and have them leave their comment down below about why they disagree with me or agree with me. Let's have a conversation. Let's try to make something meaningful happen out of really shitty discourse. This is Beanie Thuggish for the YouTubes, asking you to subscribe, signing out and saying peace.